Welcome to the last panel discussion. In this panel, we'll talk about the suitability of long-term products and look at issues around early exits, penalties, lock-ins, and withdrawals. So I'm going to start by asking each one of you, when it comes to suitability, for a long-term goal, and I'll just narrow down the goal and say retirement. So for a long-term goal like retirement, why do you think your product is the best? So let me take the mutual funds from a mutual fund perspective. Leo, I want you to answer.
I think one can talk about the suitability of each product. Whether best or not is, of course,
Sure,
a
but so you tell
comparative
me your perspective. Why do you
process.
think
And
mutual?
yeah, I don't think it's always very constructive to, we leave it to you to do the comparison. I'll just confine myself to talking about how you can use
Sure.
mutual funds to meet retirement goals. I mean, I think at the end of the day, what mutual funds are highly flexible, tax efficient instruments which can be used for a multiplicity of goals. And long-term saving is absolutely one of them. So what you have is, first of all, flexibility in terms of asset allocation and risk, if you like, modeling. So you can determine at any stage of your life cycle whether you're a young person starting out, or whether you're a householder, or whether you're already somebody who is closer to retirement. You can construct a portfolio adequately weighted for the risk and horizon you're looking for, because the flexibility exists in the product offering. Second, you can do this in a way that is very cost effective. You can do this through actively managed funds that generate alpha consistently, which, as you know, has been a feature of the Indian market. So the debate globally has not yet hit our shores on passive versus active differential, because for the time being, net of fees, typically we are still generating 3% on average over 5-year cycles above benchmarks. But you also have an option, if you're more conservative on cost, to buy index funds with very, very low total expense ratios as well. So you have that flexibility. You have, of course, income-oriented funds which you can transparently invest in, also at very low cost. And if you're not somebody who wants to be bothered with making that weightage, you can look at balanced funds as well. So all options exist in that sense. Thirdly, you have a fairly beneficial structure in terms of long-term capital gains, of course, being exempt on the equity product. So as long as you're saving for the medium to long-term horizon, it's by definition a very attractive product from a tax planning point of view, not to mention the ELSS, which gives you a small benefit anyway. And debt, as you know, if you hold for 3 years, is also fairly attractive. So really, tax is not a very big hindrance to using mutual funds. What you do have to be, though, is disciplined, because there is, of course, flexibility. The flexibility also, on the inverse, permits you to withdraw for emergencies, which is a good thing if you are someone who is disciplined. So that would be essentially the way I would summarize the proposition, and for the time being, I'd leave it at that.
So we'll come to the whole discipline aspect in a bit. Sumit, what's your view?
On retirement particularly, since our product, which is the National Pension System, is based on retirement, I think a couple of things which really differentiate any retirement product is one big thing is charges. I think that plays on the corpus because as long-term plays in, and if you're paying charges on a yearly basis, it really impacts your portfolio in a big way. So I think charges is something where National Pension System, being the lowest charge product, helps the person to create a larger corpus. From a taxation perspective, I think NPS in the last 3-4 years has been going through multiple changes to make it more and more efficient from a tax purpose. So that also helps. You have to be disciplined to build that kind of a corpus. So that is also a big thing which NPS forces you to do, because withdrawals are very, very limited. You can't take out the money. We have recently built some withdrawals, but that is very less. So you will be forced to save, and the money will going to be there for the long term for you when the retirement arrives. So it's a forced discipline which is going to help. I think larger investment, I think we have learned from the mutual fund industry, and so how to do investment. We were in passive for a long time. Now we have moved to active, and we are giving the, superior returns. Even on the debt side, we are managing it quite well. So considering all of it, I think if you're looking at long-term national pension system today, particularly if retirement is the goal, is one of the better vehicles available for investment, which I think is evolving, and in the due course of time will become even more better.
Okay, great. Vishaka.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, long-term goals and retirement in particular, right? Retirement basically has got two components to it. When people use the word pensions, I actually cringe because pensions, as we all, any layman would understand, is the money that you would get as guaranteed after you retire. So if you have to use a more technical terminology, you will say there's an accumulation phase and there's a payout phase. And I'm trying to imbibe from Leo and not compare products, but it's very hard for me to do that, Leo. So the payout phase, if we have to only look at that, and which is what is actually pensions, is annuities. And annuities today are offered only by life insurance companies because there's a risk of longevity there. And in the current environment, annuities are actually guaranteed upfront. So we're taking a guarantee for the next 15 years, 20 years upfront and saying this is the return that you will get, irrespective of where the market goes. So I think that's, from a customer perspective, that's a really sweet deal because I think life insurance companies are the only companies which actually take away the risk from the customer and take it to the company. Now when you come to the accumulation phase, you have options. You've got mutual funds where you structure it. You've got the NPS. You've got life insurance products. You've got retirement products and life insurance. By virtue of regulations, any retirement product under life insurance, which is an accumulation only, has got a mandate of capital guarantee and a guaranteed return. So we cannot launch an accumulated product which doesn't have any guarantees. So that's a big reason for you to look at it. While we discuss retirement and we look at it as accumulation and payout phases, one of the other ways of really structuring it, and that's the way I've done it for myself, is just you buy a life insurance plan which lasts for say up to age 80 or even up to 100. Those are plans that are available. You have options of premium payment terms, and your premium payment terms can range from single premium to 5, 7, 10, 15, whatever. Once you finish paying the premiums, you leave that money there and then structure systematic withdrawals. That's, strictly speaking, that's the best retirement plan you can build because when you do those withdrawals, they're structured, you can actually do it as you want to, and they're tax-free. So I think a combination is really neither in the retirement products nor in the annuity. It is actually in a plan where you can combine the two in terms of accumulation, a stay space, and then the withdrawals. So that's one big thing. The other reason why life insurance companies is the structure of the products. Now that you've said that it's not just about retirement, which you can use any life insurance product to actually structure something like this. The structure of the products offers you three options from a customer perspective. From a customer perspective, he can choose to have market-linked returns. He can choose to have participating products, which basically give you a guarantee and then a terminal bonus of 90% of everything that the company has earned. And you've got a non-participating, which defines a guarantee upfront. So if you're a customer, based on your risk appetite, you can actually choose what you want to. Second, life insurance products are structurally made for the long term. You look at systems, you look at processes, they're meant to last 100 years and beyond. It's just there. That's the way it's supposed to last. The third, you do not have any call options. A life insurance company cannot decide and wake up one day and say that I'm shutting this scheme down and I'm returning the money back to you. So that's not permissible. In case of mergers also, even if you have a company which is taken over, they're supposed to honor every single contract that the earlier company has given out. So that is definitely built to last, right? Within ULIPs also, when you're considering something which is really long-term, fund switches are so much more easier from a structural perspective. This is really just about the product and the way it is structured and not really about superiority of any product. But the structure allows you to move between funds without any taxation implications. So that's just a few of them.
Okay. Leo, I want to hear from you. Do you agree with Vishaka and the comparison that she's drawn with mutual funds?
Well, she didn't exactly directly draw a comparison, but I will give you my perspective on, if you had to look, and of course, I just caveat it by saying, actually, as it happens in our own case as UTI, of course, we are also a large NPS manager, which we are very proud of, and we also have a ULIP product and a retirement benefit plan, and so everything has its place in that sense. I wouldn't wish to argue otherwise, but I think there are different elements to structuring a retirement product. And in a way, some of these get bundled differently depending on the different regulatory platform that you happen to be on. That's essentially what is happening here. You have a savings goal, you have an investment goal, you have a protection goal, and then you have this business that Vishaka was referring to of an annuity, which is a different way of structuring the payout phase or the harvesting phase. You can aggregate these differently. I can create some version of that, for example, in my industry, because I offer you a product which allows you to save and accumulate, arguably fairly efficiently, as I argued. I can, through systematic withdrawals, permit you also to mimic, if you like, a payout phase, which an advisor could help you structure. And you could say, I have a target, there's this concept of target-dated funds in the mutual funds industry, not yet very widespread in India, but globally well understood, which is in effect a retirement product created by the mutual fund industry, where I create a portfolio for you, which will say on X date, you wish to accumulate X amount, thinking of retirement as a goal, and here's the portfolio which is likely to deliver that to you. Based on that, I can then give you a systematic withdrawal plan, which is entirely flexible for you to determine. And you can run it down depending on your own view of longevity and so on. If I were permitted, and in some markets mutual funds are, I would also be happy to write annuities. I could argue I could do it as efficiently as the insurance industry, which in India has not been very effective or efficient at
But
pricing
more because of
annuities.
regulations.
Yeah, there's no reason why. I can say I'm very happy. I would like to be actually in a position to offer annuities. I would seek that flexibility because it would extend my product construction. So I could structure a product where I will or offer an annuity, as some 401k providers do, and so on. So all of these, I think the challenge that we have in India at this point is that we are driven a little too much by the differences in our regulatory platforms in terms of how these products get positioned. And then, as is natural in any marketplace, a lot begins to depend on intermediation and distribution as to how these products get positioned and sold. That's a natural consequence of a market-based system. On top of that, then, we try and intervene as a nanny state, if you like, or as government policy, to say that the government also believes it has certain obligations, paternalistic obligations, to safeguard people. And then that's where we have got into something of a muddle. And for example, a guarantee, I don't think we should have a guarantee. I think a guarantee is, to my mind, a troubling concept, unless you are dealing with a highly marginalized section of society, like the Atal Pension Yojana attempts to do. I'm all in favor of that. But as a general principle, it can only undermine the efficiency of the financial system and the stability of the financial system. So it's a retrograde concept to talk of a guarantee. And then, of course, you end up offering it at very low levels, so it's not necessarily meaningful. I think it's a burden that's been placed on the insurance sector, and they have been forced to offer this. It hasn't troubled them so far, but personally, I don't think it's a good idea to have imposed that. So the right way forward is, which has, I think, been argued before, and we have the FSDC, FSLRC, and so on, which is meant to have looked at this, is to permit a serious examination of the underlying regulatory and tax platforms on which these products are being offered. And I think look at where we can remove constraints for each of us, actually, so that you will then have a much healthier, more transparent set of products in the market that people can choose from.
Okay. I want to talk a bit more about guarantees. So, insurance products, 60% of the market is traditional, which is sold on the back of guarantees. For a long-term product, is there merit in guaranteeing the return? Because shouldn't a long-term product be chasing returns? Vishakha, I want you to take this.
Conceptually, Deepti, what Leo says is absolutely right. And it's actually pretty logical, right? The moment you have guarantees, then the pattern of investment changes. You end up doing a safer investment options. You end up doing more of government bonds, and you would, trade lesser in equity. And you would, in general, a guarantee does end up with a slightly lower return. The probability of it exists. Okay, I'm going to flip this around, and Leo comes with years more of experience, and I come in awe of him because Sridhar just gave me a lot of background about you. So I'm going to leave this to a debate, but I'm going to turn around and say, if guarantees are really so bad, okay, why is the government, or rather the other way around, why is the government not taking up guarantees any longer? If you look at pensions, guaranteed pensions have stopped. The central government, state government, any of these companies which used to have guaranteed pensions, they no longer offer pensions. That's because the risk of guarantees is actually something that can actually make an economy go down. And we've seen that in several other markets as to how that can happen. So what you're in effect doing is saying that I as an organization, I as a government, will not carry the risk of guarantees. You as a customer, irrespective of whether you are educated, not educated, literate, and when I'm saying educated, not educated, I don't mean it from a technical degree. I mean it from a financial literacy. And the most highly educated specialist doctors can be financially illiterate. So, so I would like to place that very firmly. But the government or the institution says that, the risk of not being able to deliver X amount of return, Mr. Customer, I want you to bear it because I want to be safe. So if I just have to turn it around, that's a way of looking at it, right? And I find that conceptually not acceptable. As an individual, if I don't have skill sets, is there no organization I can trust to say that, will you be able to guarantee? Now, can you have variations in the guarantee? I think that's a must. Can you, do you not have to guarantee upfront that for the next 25 years, I'm going to be paying you an X% return? Yes, so can you have guarantees which are more in smaller bite sizes, maybe a 5-year bite size or a 10-year bite size, based on how the economy is going? And can you have a guarantee which is linked to maybe a GSEC return or maybe any other benchmark return? But I believe guarantees force institutions to take responsibility for managing it in a manner that the customer does not have to share the burden. I believe that when you don't give guarantees, you're being lazy, managers.
Okay, Sumit, what's your take? Because PFRDA Act allows for guaranteed returns. So far, the pension fund managers have stayed away from guaranteeing returns. So you tell me, for a pension long-term product, do guarantees make sense? And if you're not guaranteeing return, are you being lazy?
I think, as I see it, guarantees actually are kind of a, it's a risk which can be avoided at the point of time. See, why guarantees are being talked about? There is an implied guarantee in products in India for years together now. The PF had implied returns of guarantee plus a sovereign guarantee of the capital being protected. So I think that mental block people had that, my capital has to be protected, some interest rate should be protected by the government. I think that's the reason this entire guarantee debate has come into play. Even the PFRDA Act talks about it. We have been resisting it because, as Leo rightly said, it's something which really, puts the entire concept. It's a risky concept to have at any point of time in any industry, and one can pay a big price for it if it goes wrong. So, in a way, from a customer perspective, it gives you a little bit of a comfort. But if that comfort can be done away with, and if he's investing in a non-guarantee product, I think he'll be much better returns will come through it. So, we as pension fund managers, we have been resisting it. I think we have been successfully doing it for now. Almost a couple of years after the act has come. We have told the regulator, and regulator has been keen to listen to us. What are the challenges we see on a guaranteed product and why it is not going to work for us? And guarantees per se don't really, look at annuity market in India today, and Vishakha knows better than any one of us. In NPS, we have annuity guaranteed in the end. We want annuity service and insurance companies to come and give guarantees. Today we have 3 or 4 players who have come up to give annuity as a product for NPS customers. So there are 24 insurance companies or even more, but there are only 3-4 of us which are into annuity. And that too, they offer annuity which are not good for the customer. So guarantee per se is not something which neither of the industries have really taken up well or performed and done a good job of it. I think we can not do with it and still give better, superior returns to customer in the long term. And only time will prove. The PF returns have started coming down. The myth that they're going to be higher forever, and the government is going to subsidize is going to get broken shortly. So I think market-linked returns is going to be the future. I think that's the way it should be. Guarantee should be avoided at some.
But is there a customer segment that needs guaranteed return?
There is a shrinking customer segment which wants guaranteed returns. There is a customer segment which is growing, which is happy with the market-linked thing. I think the negativity of guarantee and the way people are writing about it, I think somewhere the people are understanding guarantee is not a good thing to have. Atal Pension Yojana really guarantees the return for customers which are at the lower strata of the society. I think that is where the social responsibility becomes a criteria. Perhaps a guarantee works, but not for people who are understanding finance and want to avoid it. I think guarantee is, and insurance companies used to have guaranteed products some time back, 3-4 years back, and the sales were phenomenal. But somewhere the regulator clamped down, and they also reduced and coming out with the product, and the insurance sales have come down on those products. So I think there is a growing community which is looking at market linked and non-guarantee. But yes, there is a segment which still looks for guarantee as a.
Okay. Vishaka, I want to talk about transparency in these guaranteed products. The plans that are sold by insurance companies, they definitely guarantee a return, but it's so opaque that it's almost difficult for you to figure out what is my net return on a product. So even though there is guarantee, but don't you think for a long-term product, you need to have a comfort level with the product, which comes in only when the product is transparent, when it's open to you?
The two thoughts to it. One, can there be more transparency in a PAR product? 100% yes. I think there's no denying
Even
it.
non-par for that matter, which
Non-par is
guarantees-
guaranteed.
Yeah.
And they give you a rate of return, and you can actually figure out a rate of return. When you're talking to a customer, you have to give a benefit illustration. The BI actually tells you what's the IRR that you're getting on it. So non-par is transparent from that perspective. PAR, there is really no transparency. And honestly, I've really tried to look at the structure of PAR and look at the way PAR products work, which is as a bonus and sum insured. And I've been really working very hard internally within my team to say, forget the market, forget what regulator is saying. If we as an insurance company really want to talk about what are the returns we're giving on our PAR product, it's so difficult based on the structure to actually communicate it, because what you're providing for is the net present value of future returns across the next 20 years that then get added onto the first year of funds. I'm trying to translate that into a more transparent methodology of how to communicate, and we are struggling.
How much you give, how much you get.
We're
every year.
struggling with being able to communicate it in that manner. However, you have BIs. If you turn that around, you have a benefit illustration where say, in case I earn 8%, what is it that we will be giving to the customer? So that is there even today in the PAR products. However, the way the thought process I come from, Deepti, is maybe because I interact in life insurance with a lot of customers, even HNI customers who don't understand finance. And I probably, in mutual funds, you interact with more savvy customers who understand finance. And I deal with people who really don't. And what they really want from an organization is, Acha, bata do, will you, it's trust. I'm giving you my money, you manage it, you're the experts, you know stuff, you tell me and make sure that you don't really rip me off. And much as I hate admitting it, I think the problem has been a few rogue players, right, which has brought down this entire market. The problem has been that in an era when there were 14%, 15% fixed deposit returns, LIC did give an 8%, 9% return. I mean, we've been there. I've lived through that era. And even today in the market, when you look at it, PAR products did not go only as per the expenses built into the product, and the product got charged with various expenses. So that's why you had the regulator coming in with the with-profit committee guidelines, with expenses of management guidelines, with the product structure, and all of this coming in. So I look at it from a different perspective altogether, and I say all guidelines, all disclosures are just moving more and more towards customer beware, and they're not moving more and more towards an organization responsibility. So transparency, bring in transparency. And the moment you do it, what you're telling, I mean, that's the way I think about it at least. What you're saying is that once I've disclosed everything to you, now it's your problem. I, as an organization, we do not have any more accountability to the customer. So my worry about transparency and disclosures is it about responsibility shirking? I'm probably making a slightly strong statement here. But I worry that the more disclosures people give, the more they say, आपको तो लिखा था, bond में था. And it is not just applicable to insurance industry. This is not applicable to the finance industry also. This is applicable to anything. I mean, Facebook, Google, look at the kind of terms and conditions, approvals they take, and then all responsibility is washed off in communicating to the customer. So is transparency the end in itself, or is transparency the means to an end? And if it is a means to the end, what is the end? If the end is customer awareness, then is transparency the right means to the end? I think that's the way I would look at it.
Okay.
Why transparency? For what objective? And then is the objective served by transparency?
But do you think insurance plans are transparent enough for the customers right now for them to understand? So let's talk about understanding of a product and then look at transparency.
So if I just have to look at it from the level of understanding at which you want to understand. Okay, let's look at an average customer who really says, give me multiple options, what all can I do with it? Do we have benefit illustrations which communicate that if I earn 8%, what is the return you will get? Versus if a mutual fund earns 8%, what is it that you will get? In a mutual fund, you'll probably get a far larger share of what the fund has earned as compared to insurance. And is there structural reasons for it? Yes, there is. The basic structural reason is cost of capital. You know, the solvency requirements, the solvency margins. As my business grows in a life insurance, the capital requirements grow. You know, whereas NPS or mutual fund can work on a smallest amount of capital and grow